Hey, good morning. It's Brian here. It is the Art of Startup War. I am back with another episode. Why are these episodes so important? Because these are companies that we specifically made investments into, and we made investments into for one reason and one reason only. We believe that this company we're going to speak to today, D Street Games, is going to be a unicorn. No doubt in my mind, actually. And we're going to go through a very logic based conversation, which is going to help you decide if you feel it's going to go the same direction. Now, the folks who are listening to this podcast, we have a lot of investors who listen to it because they love just getting into the nitty gritty of what the companies are really about. It's so much more helpful and impactful than just a pitch deck and being able to hear. And also, you get to find out the real story of what brought the entrepreneur on this crazy journey that no sane person in the world would possibly take on. Plus, I'm going to focus massively on the one area that really dictates whether a company becomes a unicorn or not. And it is not about raising money. It is about the ability to scale incredibly fast. So we're going to spend a bunch of time on that. And I know Parth is going to want to do so. So look, I don't even want to give any tips away about what this company is about, but I will tell you I am unbelievably excited about this company. It ticks a bunch of the boxes that I really like. It ticks education. It ticks the high energy of stocks and shares and being able to make money online and being able to drive that. It ticks fantasy, which is a bunch of fun. It ticks experience. It ticks gaming. It ticks the whole lot. Parth, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We's going to talk about D Street Games and how you're going to turn this bad boy into a unicorn.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Brian. First of all, I'm honored to come onto the podcast. I've seen so many entrepreneurs before me come on the previous cohorts, and I loved all of the conversations. They were so heartfelt. They're coming from, from inside, from inside their souls. More importantly, would love to tell you more about what we've been doing. I think you already know, but it's good to always
I
share with
know
the world.
everything, but I want everyone else to know, right? So
Yeah,
let's start with the genesis of the idea. Before we go
yeah.
into what the company is, just bring us back to the start of how it all began.
Yeah, so very, very, very interesting and very relevant. So we started the company, the parent company, Ask in Bed, with with a product which was very different. We were trying to improve investing in a certain section of it. There was this white space when Suresh and I, my co-founder, met and thought about algo trading in India and why it's not being done.
Hmm.
And that was, our generic perspective about, algo trading is not being done in India a lot. Let's find out why the case is and let's try to build a product for it. And the first idea that we started off with crowdsourcing algorithms for investment funds, hedge funds,
And when you
right?
talk about algorithm trading, for a lot of folks who don't understand what that is, it just means really smart investing based on using really great analytics, right? That you're continually pulling out of the system on a by nanosecond basis to make those great decisions on whether you can buy or sell. The kind of thing that's not available to local folks in the market. And my guess is, because I don't know this part of the story actually, but my guess is that you were doing this because you wanted to democratize the entire stock buying and selling process.
We wanted to democratize, first of all, people's or institutions' access to algorithmic trading because there was no technology. There were very few people who actually knew about it. And that's what we were trying to solve.
And
And we did
this is of
realize,
course Parth. This is of course in India, right? Which I should have mentioned
yes,
at the beginning of the hour. And what's really important about what you're listening to here is that many of the companies that we invest in are not folks you would have seen before. This is why, as an investor, this is so exciting because you get to see companies that will not have been on the open market. Literally, we traveled halfway around the world to find the greatest companies that we believe are on the planet, and they're the ones we invested in. So we're in India. There isn't the access to algorithm trading for the local institutions. You believed that you could provide that access. What happened next?
yeah. So the interesting part was that we started solving by creating the crowdsourcing engine. We would go to colleges, we would go to researchers, and then ask them that, if you know how to write an algorithm for trading for stocks, put it in. We'll create a competition. We hosted a month-long hackathon, and we created India's first competitive algorithmic trading tournaments for institutions, for students in general, and for professionals who were interested in it as well. And it did well. We actually reached to about 4,000, 5,000 users in total in about hardly 5 to 6 months. Didn't even market that a lot. Created about 1,000 plus strategies that were useful, which matched or passed the filters that we had actually put. But that's when the interesting thing hit us. In those 5 months, we were flooded with user requests that told us that we actually don't know how to write an algorithm. Forget that. We don't even know how to actually invest or like pick out a stock. And when we reached out to more and more users, a bunch of these requests started piling in. A bunch of these requests were in the form that I want to play this game, that this tournament that you've created. Just allow me to pick stocks. I can do that. At least I can do that. I can't write an algorithm, but at least I can do that. But a majority of them didn't even know what the markets are about. Like I have no clue how to pick a stock, forget writing an algorithm about it. And that is when it hit us that what the hell are we doing? We are creating for 4,000 people when there are millions and millions of people that don't even know how to do this. Not the intelligent part. Forget algorithms, forget computer based trading. They don't know how to pick a stock portfolio.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. They
And
don't even get to
that's,
play the game.
yeah, yes, they're not at the table. They're not even at the table right now. Forget playing the game. They're too afraid right now. For them, it's a mythical creature. How is this done? Is this gambling? Do I need to actually have a degree to be, a professional to actually start investing in the stock markets? These are the some of the myths that we are actually born with, by the way, as Indians, because I think it actually happens with every growing economy, every it might be emerging countries like India or Africa or wherever, where we've seen poverty for a certain generation of time, and then we obviously naturally become very conservative, and stocks and investing remains concentrated to some of the few people who we've been able to generate wealth, and the rest of them, even though they have investable income, shut themselves off, or by design, by themselves. They have technology through which they can do it, but it's just that mindset that they've never tried it out, or no one's actually introduced them to saying that it's as easy as playing a game.
Makes
So
total sense.
yeah, that was the genesis of these street games. We started a beta. We didn't we were running the first product, Lambda, still churning out those strategies, crowdsourcing, and we write then and there. We actually started off with beta for about 3 to 4 months, reached out to a few colleges, and it became an instant hit. Everyone was like, oh my god, you just combined two huge forces together, which is that Indian markets are crazy about fantasy gaming. There are 150 million fantasy game users in India,
Wow.
which which is actually 5 times to 6 times of the total number of investors in India in total. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So fantasy gaming is 6 times the actual stock market investors right now in India. We
And
combine
also,
that.
let me hold that. So let's
Yeah.
even get to kind of a more interesting statistic with me. In the United States, what percentage of people would you say deal in stocks in some way,
It,
right? They get it for their company, they buy it online, they working on Robinhood. There's some what percentage would you say it is?
it's reported at 55%.
55%.
55%.
So one in every two people walking down the street, the entire country is in some way engaged in stocks and shares because we're educated. What's that number in India?
That number is 2% in
Okay,
India.
right. Okay. So as an investor, like these are the numbers that really get me excited. So we're
Yeah.
at 2% in India, we're at 55% in the US. The US has a
Yeah.
population of a small couple of 100 million people. India has a population of
1.4 billion people.
Come to Papi. This is beautiful, right? So we
Yeah.
have a huge population, which, by the way, is continuing to grow. It's not looking like
Yeah.
it's going to slow down anytime soon. We have a population that have only just started to play in the stock
Yeah.
market in stock market space. We have a highly technical, a population which are getting more and more technical by the minute, with a very highly technical core that's spreading to everywhere now. Smartphones are being pushed throughout the entire country. And now we have, and so all of that is happening within this huge ecosystem. And we know that there's this great opportunity, and everybody is focusing on the people who are already rich, while actually taking
Yeah.
the entire population and saying, you guys love doing fantasy sports. We know you're going to, we know in the future, India will have, within 10, 15 years, India will have 30% of its population, 25, 30%, who will be involved in some way in
Yeah.
something speculative, right? Something that gives
Yeah.
a potential of a greater life, a potential of a greater return. So when you're
Yeah.
looking at potential in the US, like why would
Yeah.
anybody start this in the US when you're over in India and the entire market is waiting to be set? The next Robin Hood has not even been started yet. Or maybe it has. Okay, so tell us how you developed it then, because I think everybody gets the genesis now. And actually, by the way, before you say this,
Yeah.
within the US, when Robinhood started, they started as a fantasy game stock company. And many people don't know this. Many people think, oh, well, they were always a place that you go and you buy and sell shares. No, they started off as a place that educated folks towards buying and selling shares in a fun and entertaining and experiential way. And then they picked up such motion from it that investors threw money at them, and then they moved into the space they moved into which was highly regulated and highly license required. So what
Yeah.
I loved about your journey is when you told me your first pitch, I'm thinking, oh man, like Robinhood are $100 billion company, and they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And India is such a bigger market. There is so much more potential to build this in place. And you have the playbook where you're in many ways a long way ahead of where even they were at the beginning from an app and a user acquisition space. So I don't want to do any
Yeah.
spoilers, but talk us through the development of how you've taken the product from that moment where you suddenly had that epiphany of what it needed to be and who you needed to serve and what you started building.
Got it. Our aim was very clear from the onset that what we are building this for is not the existing 2%. It's the rest. It's the next 2%. It's the next 10% that we're actually building for. And most of them do not reside in urban cities. They actually belong to tier two, three cities and towns. They actually, a few of them actually don't even speak English. They can understand probably a few words of English, but they might not be even comfortable in conversing in English, right? So, and their preferences are very different. So, for a very long time in India, people used to actually buy what is called mutual funds. These were basically advised, financial products where someone would handle money on your behalf. But investor preferences have now shifted towards going towards direct stocks. Because guess who is coming onto the markets? It's Gen Z, it's millennials, it is people who have much more access, as you said, with smartphones, with free content that, I can do this. I can take my own decisions. The same Wall Street bets versus GameStop, Wall Street fund, theory. So we knew this was a customer. We're going to focus on a very small set that is the young professionals population in the age of 19 to about 30, and we were set on that. Like people who are in investment enthusiasts and want to learn more about it, this is our audience. And we believed and we researched on it as well that what are the things that typically people do before actually getting into stocks and investing.
Hmm.
They want to practically obviously try it out somewhere. One. Two, they want to read up some of the basic definitions for sure. Because you go on to Robinhood and you don't even know what a short position is. You're clueless, right? So some of the basic homework has to be done. And third, you definitely ask someone who's done it before. like one of your friends, like, hey Brian, you've already done it. What broker do you use? What app do you use to trade? What's your view on this, right? So it is actually a community activity. And therein lie the three pillars of what we are. Games that will give you that practical experience of actual investing, content that you can actually do a stock market 101 on the app itself, and a community of people who are either going through what you're going, they have the same questions, the apprehensions, and you just share amongst yourself. Or you ask someone who's already done it, a champion, or someone of a big brother, a mentor.
So
Oh my God.
I want to add a fourth pillar in there, which is competition. Because we
Yeah,
love competition, right? I play
yeah,
tennis with my kid all the time. He's
yeah,
14, right? He
yeah,
can
yeah,
almost beat me in tennis. The only thing I've got left to beat him is my mind. I'm smarter and I'm sneakier and I'm nastier than he is.
yeah,
So I'm holding
yeah,
off till he's 15. So we love competition, right? Whether we're competing
yeah,
with our kids or our
yeah,
friends or our
yeah,
bosses or our wives or our husbands or like school buddies that we haven't met in years. That's why fantasy is so damn popular. So if I choose SpaceX and I choose Thrive Market, maybe I choose a little bit of Tesla, maybe I throw in a bit of Microsoft, maybe I'm watching Amazon, I'm thinking, oh, look at all those server fees, the clouds, they're going to make a fortune, I'm going to go there.
yeah,
And then I'm looking at Apple and I'm thinking, oh, they're stealing like 30% of every poor company that's going into the Apple store. There's more money to be made out of those folks that are coming through, and my
yeah,
money's going there. And somebody else is like, no, Brian, I think you're wrong. I think what we need to go for is emerging stocks, and I'm going to go for sustainable stocks and natural stocks, and maybe I'll go for Beyond Meat, and I'll go for other things. Like the fun and the competition and the real life learning that comes from that is awesome, right? I want to be able to say,
it,
I want to be able to have bragging points and say, I got 40% return this year. What did you get?
yeah,
2%?
yeah,
Sucker.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of why people do this and share it with the community. Oh my God, this is my portfolio. A stock trader, if you know who a stock trader is, because he's going to come to you and tell you, you know what, I took this position. Yeah, I've actually bet on Tesla. I just bought some stock. They'll tell you they're so enthusiastic about it, and it is definitely taken to a next level with fantasy, where people want to be the George Soros, the Warren Buffett of the college. They want to beat all of their peers at school. They want to beat all of their peers, all of their colleagues at their companies. And we saw that very early on because this became an instant hit. Oh my God, someone's actually making a DraftKings like concept for something that I love, that's stocks. I'm going to play this. So that's the reaction that we got. And since then, we haven't looked back. I think you already know the numbers, but we've been growing
Whoa,
50%
hold on,
on.
hold on, hold on. I want to keep the spoiler alert. Hang on.
Yeah.
Just, we're
Oh,
going to go to scaling in a couple of minutes. I want to,
sure.
before we get to scaling, I just want to back into product, right? Because
Mm,
the thing about scaling, look, everything I represent, you and I are buddies now, and we've known each other for a couple of months, and you know what I think and how I work. Like everything in the
yeah.
world for me is about scaling and growth. Like if
Yeah.
you raise money, yeah, anybody can raise money, right? You just happen to go to the
Yeah.
right school and you could raise money. But you can do for real beast growth that makes you a special human being, right? And for me, there's like all these areas on growth we go after. But if you don't build the product properly, if you don't
Yeah.
have the right user experience, if you don't have the right user interface, it doesn't matter how good you are. I've seen so many unbelievable products fail because of not even bad user experience, just mediocre, not even bad product fit, just mediocre product fit. And I've seen other products which are kind of okay, but they've scaled like crazy and done unbelievably well because the user experience is so beautiful and so seamless. And it was literally drawn by an artist. Now, I know your scaling figures and I know how well you're doing right now and I know what you're going for. So, what I want to start with is how did you build such a perfect, and I say perfect in its best sense, right? Because it will continue to get better and better and better. But at the very beginning stages, normally it's atrocious, right? So, how did
Yeah.
you manage to build a fit for market product fit out of the gates? Highly unusual and really impressive.
Got it. So I think one of the key lessons, and let me just do a flashback, is so I'm of course I'm a I'm a second time entrepreneur. My first company in the consumer tech, space actually failed because we were doing quite a few things at the same time, and we realized that we were not, exceptionally good at one thing,
Mm,
and we became a business, but we were never a venture. We were never a startup.
yeah,
And that's when we realized that you need to be really good at least one thing
yeah.
and grow it like crazy, right? Get the product right for one thing and then scale massively. So that's lesson number one. So I told you about all of the pillars. We just focused on games. And why? You could have actually made content on YouTube. I could have just started a podcast. I could have actually started, uh, long form content teaching people about investing. But that doesn't need tech. Doesn't need a sexy product. That already has a platform. We looked at one thing that you couldn't do on a platform is actually play games in the way that you want or play fantasy games. We took that and we changed it. Fantasy games or virtual trading existed. It still does. It existed 10 years back. It existed a decade back as well. But what people would do is people would get virtual cash and they would have to manage this virtual cash.
Mm,
So say for example, Brian comes onto, and these were called stock simulators. So if you would come onto that platform, Brian is given $10,000 of virtual cash and he has to buy and sell stocks with it. While this is great, and this is very, actually close to what real trading or investments is, people necessarily don't find time to do this day in and day out because you're hooked in front of the screen. You have to constantly make transactions. You also, in case you're in a competitive game, the guy who's monitoring the most or the guy who's actually trading real time has an edge over the other.
mm,
And we looked at a format that was already there and already being played, which was the drafting format. You create a team and you leave it for a period of time,
nice.
right? You leave it for the season or you leave it for the game or whatever the time period is. And people who actually have other jobs as well can do them, come back and see, oh, my team lost, right? And that is why they play it again and again because it's easy.
Nice.
You can do it repetitively. And that is a game changer, Brian. I'll tell you a scary fact. So stock simulators have crappy retention. So these would be actually used to host one-time games or one-time tournaments, and then people would go. And so are these platforms. We created a game that people came back again and again to. Our D30 retention, as they call for the industry, is nearly 20 to 23%. For a
Amazing.
game, a draft game,
Yeah, very
it's
high.
the average is 6-7%. It's three times of that, and it's only possible because of the fact that people don't have to spend a lot of time. So it's actually lesser engagement time per user. But what it allows is users to come back again and again and not take a huge chunk of their time to actually do this activity. So that is something that from the onset we kept very clear. And also the focus was to tell them that, this is something similar to an activity that you already do. You do this, you're great at this. Why not actually apply the same concept to stocks?
And it's
It's,
gaming.
it's,
It's not work.
yeah,
The problem with the stock simulators is it's work, right? What you're doing is you're learning how to become really good at stocks, so you can be really good at
yeah,
stocks, right? The thing
yeah,
about games is nobody ever goes on and like plays Fortnite and think, oh man, I have to practice another 2 hours. It's gonna suck, right? Because they got their friends and it's because of the community. And I think that's where you've really nailed it. If you don't have the community, you don't have the interaction, and you don't have like I even had one of my colleagues here was driving home the other day and he was just quickly checking a game when we stopped. And I was like, what, why are you checking the game? And he said, oh, yeah, because we're like playing against these other guys and they're giving extra coins and we want to win like $100. I'm like, but you've spent $300 to get there. He's like, it doesn't matter. You don't understand. It's the bragging rights. You think
yeah,
we're going to let those punks beat us in our game? And that's
yeah.
what this is all about. So you've really added the fun into it. And did you bring in special developers or how did you manage to get that? Because I understand the process that you followed, but you need a very special artist to be able to make that whole thing sing. How did you find that person?
I think that artist is my co-founder. So very, very interesting story. I think the team happened after that. The team happened as a process of months of figuring out who the right fit is, who's really passionate about the startup story, driven by the fact that it's, and I've told you this before, right? And what we tell people is that you're gonna die every day. It's going to take everything from you, but you're going to create something that will outlive everything. So that's the phrase that we emphasize on, that we will die every day, so in hopes of creating something that lives on
And
forever,
that
right?
and that's really beautiful. I remember you said that at the
Yeah,
beginning of the cohort, and I've used
yeah,
it an awful lot because it's why we do. And I think as investors
yeah,
listening to this podcast, hopefully what you're getting to the stage of, and we're going to go to scaling in just a moment here, but you're seeing
yeah,
that this really great team got built. You're seeing this really tremendous experience. Parth hasn't mentioned he was also a venture capitalist as well, which gives him great skills to be able to do the numbers. We're not going to hold that against him on a personal level, but from a business level, it's really useful for the scaling of the
yeah,
company. And then you're seeing like how the product then got developed and how it got put towards. And the underbelly of all of this is the resilience that's required for an entrepreneur to really break through, because it's incredibly hard. Like, just to make it to the end would drain.
yeah,
It kills lesser human beings, I tell you, right? So you got to be very special. You've got to have a real why as to why you do it. And like, I know your real why is that whole, we will leave something behind us in life that will
yeah,
make our meaning worthwhile is really
yeah,
powerful. And that whole 2% number of people is just wrong. The fact that so few people have the ability to be able to pull themselves to a better level of wealth is just an inadequacy that's not required. And the fact that you bring them into it in a way that's gaming and that's fun is really incredible. So I want to talk about your co-founder, and I want to talk about the skills that your co-founder has, and then I want to layer directly into scaling. How do we take this from where you are now, which is just launched, to 100,000 users? And then how do we go from
correct.
100,000 users to 1 million users? And then what does that look like? Because investors, whether experienced investors, you know this. At 1 million users, happy days. We're in great shape. We are getting returns left, right, and center. We're buying all of our friends' drinks in the bar, right? Before 1 million users, we're a little bit nervous. So
Yeah.
tell us about your co-founder, and then let's lead straight into the scaling.
All right. So I will definitely say that, so the journey was very simple. I was working at a venture capital fund. I was actually investing into fintech startups. I met this crazy, crazy, really crazy guy who is Suresh. And he had dropped out of college, self-taught himself algo trading. So he made a bunch of money as a college student working part-time in Germany. Came back to India with that money and put it in the stock markets and lost every penny of it. And that would be somewhere around, I think, 13, $14,000, which is a lot converted to Indian rupees, right? And there he is. He's like, I've lost everything. This is really crappy. I'm a computer science student. Why don't I put my brain to this problem? I will teach myself algorithmic trading. He actually became an algorithmic trader. He became a quantitative trader, took up a position as a researcher with a fund. It's called Trex Quant Investments.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge fund based out of the US. I think $2.4 billion
Mm-hmm.
assets under management. And while doing this, realized that, hey, why can't algo trading be done for India? What's the problem? And that is when he decided that college is not for me. By the way, he actually qualified an exam which has less than or somewhere of a 0.1% acceptance rate in India.
Like
Like
this.
a million students give it every year, and he was like some 200, 300 something. So I mean, great, and he gave up that because he was so passionate about that problem. He was so passionate about creating technology for it. And that is where I met him in Bangalore, and I was like, wait a minute, you don't have a team. You just started building the product. What's wrong with you? Right? And I met him as an investor, but we kept in touch, and I contributed a lot in terms of what we see and I personally seeing about in the space. In about 3 to 4 months, I was dead sure that it is time again to start the entrepreneurial journey. I quit. I joined Suresh. We were blessed with some bit of money from the fund, the partner, at the fund itself, and that's where we started our beautiful journey. And the rest, as I said, the team was hard. I think co-founders probably have a huge motivation going and they're very clear in their head, but it's very difficult to find people that resonate and clearly, talk about your own, the vision that we have, or translate our motivation into actually into the core team. But we are very, very lucky that we have a bunch of engineers that are world class. And and if I were to say, like, if we are going through a bad time, if we would have not even had money at this point in time, they would stick around. They would actually not take salaries for months and work it out till the time that we actually see through a phase or something, right? So that's just precious. It's probably non-scalable, to be honest, Brian. So I always feel that, when we're going to hire next, can we ever replicate this? Or what
Right.
went right? What went right with them? What is it? Have we found the blueprint? But
You know, those
lucky.
early Apple moments, right, where you have a
Yeah,
team of people that are so committed to building what they're building. And then so let's kick into scaling because I love this
yeah,
part. This is what
yeah.
makes the unicorn. So your first job was, okay, we got to get 15,000 users on the platform. Tick in the
Yeah,
box, got 15,000 users. Was that
yeah.
challenging, and what did you do to get those 15,000 users?
So two to three things. We were very clear. Our experiences from the previous product had taught us that what is definitely going to work is going to the same network of colleges that we had onboarded, and we created a private game for them. Like, hey guys, this is a game exclusively for the people on campus, and play amongst your friends. We gave them a few big, we hosted some of the first few games, gave them prize money as well for it. And that's where we saw the first set of users coming. I think the first 5,000 users is, uh, is, is this model where we went to these colleges, saw them getting excited about it, and a bunch of them then sticking onto the platform month on month and doing that. But what really has worked, and by the way, I think we expected to hit some 10, 15,000, but we've now crossed some 20, 21,000 in the past 2 months, 3 months, growing almost 50% since launch every month. And it's hard
Beautiful.
to
And by the
it's
way,
hard to
okay, let me put my VC hat on because now we're talking like 50% month to month. And that means
yeah,
we go from 20, we go from 20 to 30, we go from 30 to
yeah,
45, we go from 45 to what, 70. And
70,
then
yeah.
that means you're going to hit 100,000 users within 4 to 5 months.
Okay, by the way, I'll go out on a limb and say our target is 3 months. Because
Wow.
I'll tell you why. It's We found a channel that is scalable. We found a channel that is working, which is influencer marketing. A lot of Gen Z millennials are going online for content. As I said, they search for people who they think are genuine, or, hey,
Yeah.
this guy is talking sense. Let me listen to this guy, right? And it's the same for investing in stock markets and gaming. Same way. What we do is we go to these guys and we say that, hey, this is this concept that we've came out with. Would you care to review us and
Yeah.
feature on your podcast, on your channel, on your page, on your group? That this is something very useful. It has worked out like a charm. A user
Amazing.
acquisition cost, as I had said, is about 10 cents, which is phenomenal. 10 cents is very, very difficult to achieve. I think it'll probably be in that
I
range
don't
for
even know
the,
what I don't even know what 10 cents looks like. I'll tell you,
yeah,
I haven't heard of a user acquisition cost of 10 cents. Like in the United States, 10 cents is just when you start multiplying it by 10 and 20 and 30 and 40. Like it's for investors that just don't know user acquisition. It's a joke because it
yeah,
means that you have the ability. Most companies in the US, this is why India is
yeah,
such an incredible market. Most
yeah,
companies in the US to scale to 1 million users It's probably going to cost them somewhere between 10 and 30 million dollars
Yeah.
because they just there's so much that needs to be done, and it's the engineering, it's the team, it's the advertising, it's all of it. And what's so phenomenal here is just quickly working these numbers out in your head. Like literally, you can get to 1 million users by the end of this year. For I mean, you bring in $1 million and you're building a kingdom.
Yeah. So that's the plan. We want to hit 100,000 as soon as possible and see some of that scale kick in, because at 100,000 you actually see a lot of community behavior. One of the key things is actually hosting a private game, calling your friends to it. And when the scale is that big, network effects start creeping in.
Yeah.
And we have already started seeing people actually hosting their own games. Referrals have started kicking in. I mean, there was one time, I think I remember a few months back, where if we got like 100 downloads on a day, on like any given day, we'd be like, wow, oh, like, let's break out this champagne, right? And now if I refresh the screen after like 6 hours, it's like 100, 200, 300, which are mostly being driven through, user reference, organic growth. So how do we get to 1 million? We do more of the same. We do more of the same. We do it with a larger set. We do it on more platforms. And by the way, these users, these 20, 25,000 users have all come from just Instagram. One channel. Just Instagram.
Wow.
We have YouTube left. We have Facebook left. We have certain vernacular platforms left in the country as well. So we believe that we have a clear path to 1 million. It might not be as straightforward as lighting up a pile of cash, but it is the path's definitely there. Because as I had mentioned to you as well, there are certain optimizations that we keep doing as we scale. We don't want to lose track of certain numbers like retention as we scale, or how much paid activity that we are seeing on the platform, etc. So we need to be mindful of that. Otherwise, right now we do have the cash to scale to that. So yeah.
And I got to tell you, from an investor perspective, and I'm sure other
Yeah.
investors are listening out there and thinking, "Oh, well, let's talk about the revenue, Brian." I don't care. I don't care. Why would I care about the revenue? The revenue in my mind is so irrelevant because it's so easy. Think about the data that's being collected here, right? You are getting data from folks that want to invest money. You get to see who's good at investing money, who could potentially get returns. You get to see disposable income that folks have that they can possibly put into it. There's so many ways to actually monetize this data. It's a joke. Like whether it's partnerships and bringing them in, who will actually then bring these folks and translate them into real traders in the future and folks that are making on stocks and shares, to people that are selling products that want to be able to get direct access to products. And so speaking of that, what I really like about this, and every show, I like the one focus of the show is the person, the company, the entity, what you're creating, and why that's really important in the world. But the other, maybe stronger focus for folks listening is the scaling side. Like, what is it you're doing?
Yeah.
So I love that we're talking about virality, gamification, and actually getting folks really engaged on the platform so they can do it. Can we maybe talk about some of the specific tactics on how you actually incentivize? Let's say we get 100,000 people or 1 million people on the platform. How do you then incentivize those people to bring in other people? Is it just a question of the game will be so much fun that you'll actually want to bring your friends in? Or are you going to incentivize them with gifts and products and maybe bring in brands where they can actually become part of the whole experience as well?
Got it. So two bits, yes. There are two things to it. For games like these, private games or private contests are a huge thing. You go on to another level when you know that a buddy is playing. Like if you know that the entire cohort is playing, I know that Asad's there. I know that Hassam's there. I know that Madhav's there. And I'm suddenly much more involved because I know this is a gang. I am actually chatting on WhatsApp and taunting them like, see where your portfolio is at and see where mine is, right? So that definitely is a huge part because an entire college gets onboarded onto the platform, is what I'm talking about, right? An entire group of 600 people, 700 people in one day come onto the platform saying that, hey, this is all campus. He's in my dorm. He's that guy. So one definitely is that knowing the other person.
And sorry, on that point, so are you kind of pushing that with push notifications, or with encouraging people, or sending them little cups for whoever's winning and victorious? Like, how do you gotta incite the excitement as well sometimes. Like sometimes it happens on its own, right? With Clubhouse, much of it happened on its own. They just got the right people and they chose the right mini influencers, and then those mini influencers then brought in everybody else. But how much do you get engaged with that, and what specifically do you do to make it work?
Got it. So we were fortunate enough to actually be in touch with these all of these colleges have finance clubs or investing clubs on campus where they actually teach a little bit about it, right? And we were fortunate enough to be in touch with them, reached out to these guys. We've been alums of these colleges as well, and in general reached out to them, said that this is something cool. You can actually use this to teach a fresher.
Yeah.
You can actually use this to get him involved. And that's what happened. When we incentivized the first few games and started calling it out, we in fact, by the way, we have a feature where college A can play against college B. So it's Harvard versus MIT.
Oh, that's
Imagine.
good.
Yeah. So we have a feature where teams can play against teams. So imagine the best investors from Harvard taking on the best investors from MIT. And that being a huge thing we called out on social media, right? And when we started doing that, and we will be doing actually a lot more events going forward like these as well. The next time you saw dorms or like other campus groups reaching out to us saying that, can I do this for myself? And that's where we actually started the private game feature, where they now started using this as a platform in itself. They didn't even have to reach out to us. They have the technology right in there. It's there in the app.
So you're going to
So
you're white labeling it for them, so they can actually.
it's not even white labeling. So if Brian signs up, he can host his own game.
Right.
You can do that. So that feature is already there. So one huge part of what we've enabled is network effects. Knowing who it is, calling your private group, and playing amongst your friends. That's it.
I
So that
love
is,
it.
yeah,
So I
that's
want to know
one of the viral. Yeah.
in the
Sorry.
last 3 minutes or so, we've covered, and what everybody here is hopefully picking up is that you want to invest in companies that are building virality and community and incentivizing that community into their apps. It's too hard to just buy users. The olden days of just buying them on Facebook, they're gone. That's not going to work anymore. It's too expensive. It's too hard. Number two, you want to find areas and industries where it's just beginning. Like, I don't want Robinhood over. I don't want to compete. If somebody comes into me today and says, hey, man, we're going to do Robinhood, but we're going to do it slightly different, I'm like, good luck, goodbye. I don't care who you are. I don't want to compete in a market which is so full already. There's so many people going at it. The big players are coming at it. The Goldman Sachs are going to come after Robinhood. The small players are going to come after Robinhood. Robinhood is going to come after Robinhood. What the hell? I'm not looking for a bloodbath. Over in India, 2%, 2% of the population know how to do this right now. The incumbents have no idea where to start. They have no incentive to start, no will to start. This is absolutely perfect. So we also get, on top of that, the virality of what you're building into, so people like it. So speak to me about what you can build this up to. I think everybody listening is going to be pretty on board with the fact you're an ex-VC, you had a company before, you're doing great on this company, everything sings in exactly in tune. You're not going to have a problem raising $1 million or two or three to get yourself to 1 million to 3 million users a month. I'd like you to tell us, where is this going to in the future? And that's where I want to finish off, and then give everybody your email address and then also the website so people can go in and have a look at it themselves. But I want to really, really make sure that you encapsulate that vision of what this looks like in
Yeah,
5 years' time. Not even 10,
yeah,
5 years' time.
yeah. So I've always used this analogy, and it's of the oil industry. So there are behemoths, there are huge companies that just drill out oil, and then people actually make downstream products for it, right? We are drilling out oil for the entire financial market industry
Nice.
in India. We're actually drilling out oil, and then they could actually be a stock investor, they could be an ETF investor, they could actually take up stock market, education in terms of courses. We want to be the platform which turns, raw people into investment enthusiasts and more, and ripe for, a partnership or like for another player to actually take over. We actually intend to be one of the players that actually does downstream as well. So a huge belief and aim is that we will actually launch our own brokerage when we have a ton of users that believe in the brand, where we stand for young professionals in India. And once we've established that brand, that trust, that community, doing the brokerage part is going to be a piece of cake because technology is what we're good at, right? So from that, prospect, 5 years down the line, if you ask me, I I would say that if we would have created a brand for young India, for new India that's coming onto the markets, and be their go-to place in being able to do anything with related to the stock market. So as I had told you about it as well, I would want someone in the cohort say that, I actually gave my app to my little brother and he bought his first stock on it. He didn't know anything. He played games. He actually spoke to a bunch of people and now he's bought his first stock on it. So
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
the dream.
Amazing. I think this is truly the thing. And do you see yourself at 100 million users, 50 million users, 20? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So I guess the entire market in terms of what we are targeting is about 30 million users at the onset. Like the actual set that we spoke about, young professionals, and not even going to other amateur retail investors or even like for example urban housewives and homemakers are actually getting into our stock markets as well. But we are not targeting them right now, right? So I think 30 to 40 million is in the next 2 to 3 years is what we're going to be targeting. The market in itself is growing naturally because of forces. We believe that the entire stock market is going to push from the 2% number to about 6 to 8%.
Hmm.
And we want to be part of that journey where we help push that 2 to 4% to 6%. So
Beautiful.
I don't see why 100 million is not achievable.
Beautiful. And how can folks contact you?
Okay, I think I'll drop my email address. That's the best way. The best way to know about this product is to just download it and see for yourself.
Yeah. So if they want to, if somebody wants to email you, if you can just say it verbally, what's a good email to
Um,
have just for folks who are listening on audio as well?
so it's parth@askinbig.in, or you can just type Parther on Google. You'll actually land up on a page where it's me, or you can just shoot me a DM on LinkedIn, and I think we should be good to go. We'll pick up the
Okay,
conversation from
beautiful.
there.
And anybody else, you can just contact me directly at brian@expertdojo.com. As always, this is a hot company. We're so stoked that we've invested into them. We totally see the road to 100 million folks using their platform, and just bringing education and fun and just a better life to an entire generation of people. So, Parth, thanks for being a part of my journey. I'm so pleased we invested, like I said, and I wish you all the very best on our
Thank you.
journey to the next stage.